Cedar Point just shocked the world with the announcement of a brand new roller coaster for the 2025 season called Siren's Curse. It is a Vekoma tilt coaster, the tallest and fastest of its kind in North America, beating out Circuit Breaker at Codaland, which is currently under construction, and we do not know when that ride will open. I absolutely think this has the potential of opening first with its debut in summer 2025. And really, this announcement just came out of nowhere. They opened up the Wild Mouse in 2023. 2024, of course, was Top Thrill 2. And now with Siren's Curse, that is technically 3 roller coasters back to back, which we know that Cedar Point is the favorite child in the chain, but that is still a lot of investment in one property. And this is no small ride, 160 feet tall, max speed 58 miles per hour, 2 inversions, 2,966 feet of track, and 13 airtime moments. It'll be located directly next to Valraven, across from the entrance of Iron Dragon, occupying the former space that was left by the Cedar Point dorms. After they were bulldozed, that area has been sitting mostly vacant. At one point, they were using the plot of land for like monster trucks, and back in the day, there used to be a Schwarzkopf Wildcat there. But this is a much better use of space, so technically they are not removing any attractions to fit this thing in. All they really have to do is reroute Perimeter Road, which goes around Cedar Point, which should be completely doable. And the views of this ride are just going to be perfect. They have angled the attraction so that you'll be staring directly up at that tilt section, making for some unbelievable photo ops. I can already picture all the Instagram captions saying, "Would you ride this?" Or, "Wow, can you believe this ride exists?" Most people who step foot into Cedar Point have never seen anything like this before. The only other operating Vekoma tilt coaster in the world is over in Taiwan, and since Circuit Breaker is not yet open, this is a big deal. So let's walk through the layout and what riders can expect. So first off, you'll ascend up to the top and take a small left-handed turn to enter that tilt section of track. Your train will park at the edge. This is one of those roller coasters you're absolutely going to want to experience in the front row. That's where this gimmick really shines. The pins will unlock and your track section will begin to rotate 90 degrees to face the ground. It is the big wow moment of the ride and it is going to be terrifying. We had the opportunity of seeing the tilt coaster prototype at the Vekoma factory in the Netherlands, and watching this thing tilt was just unbelievable. I can only imagine what it'll be like once you have a train in place. So once this section of track is locked and in place, your train will release and you'll swiftly turn to the left. As much as the visuals will be awesome in the front row, I don't know how much of a drop this will really feel like for those up front, especially since the only time that you're really vertical is on that track. As soon as you release, that's when you're already coming out of the drop. I think in the back row you'll get some airtime, but it'll be a little different than the types of drops that we're used to because there won't be any pull or tug as you're coming off that drop. You're already at that 90-degree angle. So as odd as it is to say, I actually think Valraven will have the better drop. You really get some nice floater on that thing, and it's also considerably bigger. But I think Siren's Curse really makes up for it with the rest of the layout because beyond the tilt section, this thing actually looks to be awesome. You'll rise up into an airtime moment. I think this is really going to be powerful up front. And then you'll have a directional change plunging down towards the ground, banking to the right underneath yourself, and getting thrown into the first of 2 inversions, which is just so low and you're coming off of this high point. I think you're going to have a ton of speed and momentum going into this thing. It's going to have some whip to it. I cannot wait. I've experienced some next generation Vekoma thrill coasters before. Specifically, Phoenix at Far Up Summerland has inversions like this, and they are fantastic. But I am actually surprised that this ride will only have 2 inversions. Not that it needs any more. I like that it's going to be very airtime focused, but still wasn't what I expected. Following this roll, you'll thread through the tilt structure, banking upwards to the right, twisting around, and then dropping into a tunnel. And this is one of the biggest surprises of the ride because I was always under the impression that Cedar Point could not feature a tunnel for their ride that was below ground. That being because Cedar Point is on a peninsula and has a low water table. So either they've somehow managed to fix that, which okay, great if that's the case, or this will actually be an above ground tunnel, it's just not correctly displayed in the animation, or maybe there just won't be a tunnel at all and this is just not accurate. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll have to wait and see. Riders will then rise up out of the tunnel, twist around, banking to the right. There'll be a nice directional change where you'll also get some airtime, and then you enter roll number 2. Again, super low to the ground. I fully anticipate this to be fairly similar to the first one. And once again, you'll then pass through that tilt coaster main structure, banking to the right, twist to the left, and then enter the brake run. So it's not the longest ride in the world, but honestly, I don't think it's going to feel short, and they are making great use of this space. It's so impressive that they managed to fit a ride of this structure there. Frankly, this spot wasn't even on my radar for a roller coaster this big. And I love the idea of a tilt coaster at Cedar Point. I just think it's a little weird that it's going to be right next to Valravn, because both rides do have a similar gimmick of like holding the train at the top, dangling over a 90-degree drop. In a perfect scenario, I think this would go somewhere else in the park, especially since being next to Valravn, which is like 40 plus feet taller. I worry that this ride will look a little short, but it's okay. And hopefully with a name like Siren's Curse, we get some good theming. They've created a cool story around this. Siren's Curse harkens to the legend and lore of a mysterious creature that lives beneath the surface of Lake Erie, often spoken of but never spotted. The sirens lure sailors to their underwater demise with their sweet, seductive songs, and they have finally risen to land to attempt to trap their guests in a sinister 2-minute-long fate that is this roller coaster. We'll have to see how much of that is actually conveyed during the queue and station, but frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if this just feels like a roller coaster plopped down with some nice landscaping. I also dig the colors. It's personally not what I would have picked to a roller coaster themed to Sirens, but it's okay. That red track will pop, and frankly, I don't know if they had much of a choice with the color scheme, because there is a leading rumor that this roller coaster wasn't ever even planned for Cedar Point originally. If you look at the original rendering that Energylandia released of what their upcoming tilt coaster would look like, this is the exact same layout. This is the Cliffhanger model from Vekoma. Energylandia just happened to put a lot more theming around it. That ride was canceled. Supposedly, Six Flags Mexico picked it up. They had some issues with permitting, and within this new Six Flags chain, they were like, where can we send this? And after the mess with Top Thrill 2, Cedar Point was like, we need something to rebound with. Here we go. We can add this in as a last-minute addition. That's why it's opening late and why we didn't receive too many rumors prior to this, and hence the reason this felt so out of nowhere. It just makes too much sense that this is Energylandia's original tilt coaster. So even though that might be the case, there still isn't much to complain about. Any park that adds 3 new roller coasters, big investments back to back, is a huge win. I think there's a lot of validity to this rumor. The real telltale sign will be if the track that was sitting at Six Flags Mexico gets sent over to Cedar Point and then it's no longer on property, and then we don't see any signs of Six Flags Mexico adding anything anytime soon, which would be a shame, because actually I think the tilt coaster objectively is a better fit at Six Flags Mexico. They really need a strong top 3, and currently they only have a strong top 2. Cedar Point does not need a tilt coaster. However, it will do really well there. And I also think the train will really shine at night. They are advertising it as having an LED onboard audio package. So there'll be sound. Hopefully you'll be hearing some of those sirens. The lights on the train will be changing colors. It'll be a pretty cool experience. Maybe we'll get a custom soundtrack with it too. In the past, Cedar Fair has worked with IMAscore. They did Mystic Timbers and Orion. It'd be cool if they did this as well. So in conclusion, I'm really excited for Siren's Curse. I think it'll easily be one of the best new roller coasters of 2025, but the circumstances surrounding this new edition is just very strange. The fact that Top Thrill 2, their new for 2024 coaster, technically didn't even really open this year. It was operating for like 8 days. Only 4 of which were during the traditional season. So like if I were in charge, I wouldn't add a new roller coaster back to back. I would just push all of my marketing towards Top Thrill 2. But it seems like they're taking the opposite direction of we need something else to soften the blow, because there was so much negative press around the roller coaster not being open in its advertised year. I can't help but wonder what their original plan would have been for the 2025 season. I imagine it'll be whatever comes in 2026. Maybe something to replace Snake River Falls? That would be my guess. I would be shocked if they knew they were getting a tilt coaster at the start of the 2024 season. But I could be wrong. Regardless, it is super exciting to see yet another big Vekoma in the new Six Flags chain, and going to the roller coaster capital of the world is just so sick. Hopefully we see some others passed down to other parks in the chain, because I think a lot of them would do well with the tilt coaster, or just a new generation Vekoma in general. So let me know down in the comments below what you think of Siren's Curse coming to Cedar Point, if you agree with the points that I brought up, if you think there's anything I missed, and stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.